Microsoft updates their privacy policy. Google Plus wants to know all of your obsessions. And Apple wants gamers. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 469 for Tuesday, November 17th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/EcoTank to find out more. Welcome, I am Megan Morrone. Let's get to the tech news. $1 billion. That's the amount Microsoft announced that they would begin spending on security every year. In a State of Security address at the Microsoft Cloud Forum in Washington, D.C. today, CEO Satya Nadella presented a new security vision for the company that includes a new cyber defense operating center that will use a mix of algorithms and humans to detect problems in real time. Microsoft also promises to continue partnering with independent security researchers. The new vision includes a focus on enterprise and cloud security, and they plan to make it harder for hackers to compromise your PC. In other Microsoft news, ZDNet says that ahead of next week's launch of the newest version of Windows 10, Microsoft has updated its privacy statement. Highlights include rewritten paragraphs that some people had previously interpreted as Microsoft spying on users' content. There was also an update to device encryption policies, which states that Microsoft does not use your individual recovery keys for any purpose, and a rewording of the phrase other private communications to in Outlook.com to be clear when and where Microsoft will access and disclose personal data in order to comply with applicable law. Today, Google Plus began rolling out a major redesign with a focus on communities and collections, which the company says are the social network's most popular features. Also, I might add, a place where they can harness very specific information about what you like and might be interested in spending your money on. When Google Plus spun out Photos and Hangouts, some of us speculated that the end was near for the underappreciated social network. But instead, the site is rising from the ashes with a new focus on your obsessions and your interests, whatever those interests might be. And Google says the site will be more mobile friendly. According to the post on Google Plus, there will be more changes to come. And speaking of Google, the company says that Android users can now free up space to instantly delete photos from phones that are already backed up to Google Photos. If you're on Android, just update to Google Photos version 1.9. iOS users will have to wait. Wah, wah. The new Parrot Bebop 2 drone would make an excellent holiday gift for any child on your list this holiday season, as long as you're willing to spend $550 on that child. And if you are, let me know. I will send you my list. I might be your child. Engadget reports that the newest drone from Parrot can reach speeds of 37 miles per hour and flies for up to 25 minutes. It features a 14-megapixel fisheye lens camera, 8 gigabytes of onboard flash storage, and the Bebop 2 also uses digital image stabilization to keep the drone weighing only 17.6 ounces. Parrot is calling it the drone for everyone, but just because anyone can fly it doesn't mean we can all afford that $550 price tag. It is cheaper than other versions, though, and it is also cheaper than a new iPhone. In other drone news, Parrot competitor DJI says they'll begin offering geofencing to prevent drones from entering restricted areas like prisons, power plants, and possibly your neighbor's lawn if they like to shoot down your drone with their gun. I'm just kidding. I made up that last part. The Verge does report that the geospatial environment online is powered by a company called AirMap. Will be updated to restrict drones from areas based on their current security needs. So you never know. TechCrunch says AirMap will also be built into the 3DR consumer-grade solo drone. Coming up, I will talk to Jeff Benjamin from iDownload blog about gaming on the Apple TV and the iPad Pro, and the Oxford English Dictionary's word of the year is not a word at all. But first, this episode is brought to you by Epson. Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer does not use ink cartridges. It uses an innovative refillable ink tank. It comes with enough ink to print up to 8,500 pages. It features easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. All EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value with ultra-low-cost replacement ink bottles. Now you have the freedom to print without running out of ink. Visit Epson.com/ecotank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's EPSON.com/ecotank. And we thank Epson for their support. We talked about the giant new iPad Pro yesterday on this show and on iOS Today. And I recognize that many of you would not even consider buying this foot-long plus device. But our guest tonight has a slightly different perspective on the topic. Joining us is Jeff Benjamin, writer, producer, and YouTube star from iDownload blog. Welcome, Jeff.
How's it going, Megan?
It's going good. Thanks for coming back on. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. It's good to be back.
Well, thanks for coming. So you had a chance to review the iPad Pro and the Apple TV just in the last few weeks. And you're a gamer. What do you think about these devices for gaming?
Well, the iPad Pro, the first thing that sticks out to me is, wow, the screen is huge and it's so immersive. The sound is so loud and in your face that it's perfect for gaming, in my opinion. It's just a wonderful gaming console. The Apple TV is good as well, but it's sort of a different, I don't know, it's more of a typical console, whereas the iPad's more of a portable machine that can kind of wear two hats.
So what about speed of the iPad Pro? What do you think of the speed for gaming?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Benchmarks put it, right in line with some of the older MacBooks. It's just, it's ridiculously fast. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM, so nothing really chokes it up.
So what are the games that you're enjoying playing on the iPad Pro right now?
I've been playing a lot of Asphalt. I know that's probably not something that's going to push it too hard. Super Hexagon is something I play all the time. Alto's Adventure. Not a huge iPad gamer, but those are some of my staple go-to games.
So you'd prefer Asphalt on the iPad Pro versus the Apple TV?
Yes, just because it's so immersive. I know there was I think Tim Cook and both Eddie Q were interviewed, and they were asked why do they like this iPad Pro, and Eddie Q said something interesting. He said he liked it because it's in your face. It's like a consumption device, whereas Tim Cook was like, well, this is more of something I use to replace my MacBook, or I use it for work and productivity. But I think Eddie Q was right on the money. I mean, this thing is so, it covers your whole field of view. It's so big and in your face that it's just a wonderful gaming device. And I think that kind of caught a lot of people off guard. At least it did me.
So what you're saying is all the people saying I can work with it. I have the keyboard. It's fast enough for me to multitask. You're just yes, that's true, but you're not giving up your MacBook, but you still really like the iPad Pro. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it can do both, actually. It's really good. I edited a full podcast on it the other day, and it worked perfectly fine. But it's also just really good for consumption, really good for movies, really good for gaming, and it's a do-all thing. It can do everything.
And everyone has their little specific things that it can't do. You're not the first podcaster I talked to. You can't hook up an external mic to it. I know Leo's used some of the small Shure microphones. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever used those.
I actually have something called the Samsung Go, which is just a little bitty microphone, and that actually does work. But you can't use a full-size microphone, and it's limited. You can't hook up an external hard drive, for instance. So the bottlenecks that you get there are sort of frustrating right now, but hopefully in the future those will open up.
So we saw you using a game controller with the iPad Pro. Which game controller was that?
It's this SteelSeries Nimbus, and it's this right here. This is sort of something that Apple worked together with the guys at SteelSeries to create. It is a traditional console gaming controller layout, sort of like an Xbox controller. I like it. It's just, it's a little on the low budget feeling side. It doesn't feel completely like a PlayStation controller where you get the quality of the plastic. It's noticeably lesser quality than a typical first-party controller, but still very good. Don't get me wrong, but you're going to notice that it's not exactly the same type of quality that you would get from a first-party controller.
And you can use that also on the Apple TV.
Yeah, and that's actually the reason I bought it. Apple's pushing this as, it's not their controller, but they're sort of pushing it as the controller to buy. When you check out, when you buy your Apple TV, you see this along with the suggested recommended products to buy along with it. So, and again, Apple did work hand in hand with SteelSeries on this.
So that's about $50, and you wouldn't recommend any others that would be more expensive or less expensive?
There's another one that just recently came out from Hori that is $40 as well, or $49 as well, and that one looks more akin to a PlayStation like layout controller. So it just depends on which controller style you like. Do you like the Xbox or do you like the PlayStation? So you can go about your decision like that.
Right. So you said that you don't recommend Apple's keyboard, which a lot of people have said. I've been using the Logitech external keyboard. It works great. But you said that you don't really recommend any external keyboard. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just think like if you can, if at all possible, you should try hard to be able to type on the software keyboard because number one, the software keyboard's bigger now, so it actually takes up the full footprint of the screen. Like when you have it in landscape mode, the keys are just as big as they are on a MacBook, so typing's easier with the iPad Pro. And because the keyboards, the external keyboards, like the Logitech one you have, is really cumbersome. It's really big. It adds much more weight and depth to the package. I just think if you can at all, try to get used to the software keyboard. It's going to be a lot more portable.
Right. Yeah. If you're going to be carrying it around, that just adds more weight to it. So I got an email from a viewer who said he returned his iPad Pro. He was comparing it to his 7.9-inch iPad and finding that the Pro lacked in sharpness and color saturation. Did you have any issues with that at all?
I didn't, but I will say for sure, like if you go in store and look at an iPad Mini 4, and I think a report came down today about this exact topic, but the iPad Mini 4 is far and away the best looking iPad from a screen perspective that I've seen. It doesn't blow away the iPad Pro, but it's noticeably better than the iPad Pro. But the Pro's still really good. So,
Jeff, you're an editor and producer at iDownload Blog. What else can people find up there right now?
I'm working on a review of the keyboard that you just mentioned, the Logitech keyboard case, which is really big, like I mentioned. But yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. So that should be up a little bit later today.
Well, great. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff Benjamin, editor-producer at iDownload Blog. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Twitter at Jeff Benjam. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Megan. Have a good one.
You too. And finally tonight, the Oxford English Dictionary word of the year is not a word at all. It is an emoji. And you will be relieved to know that it is not the middle finger emoji. The word that the OED thinks best describes 2015 is the faces with tears of joy emoji. For the first time ever, Oxford University Press chose an emoji, which they are calling a pictograph. And it goes to show how better emoji are at expressing our complicated range of emotions. The short list of contenders that the OED did not pick include ad blocker, dark web, sharing economy, and my personal favorite, on fleek. All of those are two words, not one word. So I guess phrases count, in which case I am very surprised and a little disappointed that they did not include Netflix and chill. And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. Chris Waters has finally caught up on Tech News Tonight and has another suggestion for the metaphor of how we don't notice that we're handing over our privacy before it is too late. Chris says, I like the illustration of resting in a rowboat while subtly, imperceptibly drifting away from the shore. Before you realize it, you're downstream, perhaps in serious danger. Thank you, Chris. Chris says he also watches Security Now, This Week in Google, Tech News Today, MacBreak Weekly, and iOS Today, so I forgive him for falling a little behind, but only a little. If you have comments, questions, complaints, kudos, news tips, or anything else, email them to me at megan@twit.tv. You can also subscribe to the show at twit.tv/TN2. Write to all of us at TN2 @twit.tv and watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.